We are live. We'll give it 3, 2, 1. Hello, Scott. Welcome to CEO Zones, where today we're doing a free webinar. Thank you for your graciousness and being willing to teach CEOs, board of directors, professional directors more about how to have one thing, how to have not what somebody told me was garage doors, which are very old pocket doors, as compared to a beautiful blue background. But in any event, for those of you, we might just double check here, see if we've got any. There we go. I'm just checking to make sure maybe somebody's running just a minute or two late.
Not a problem.
Please put your questions in the comment box. All right. And actually, I guess it's maybe I pushed us a little ahead because Verizon just officially calls it 3 o'clock right now. So there we go. But in any event, to give a little bit of your background, and maybe I will duplicate this in another minute, but I always like to try to get started fast so people know it's worth their time, because CEOs, let's say they make $2,500, $3,000 an hour. Professional directors sometimes make that much because they get paid for a retainer, those types of things. So I don't like to waste a lot of time. But Scott, from my memory, you are the owner of Skillcast, which is all about helping people with communication styles and how do they present themselves in the best light possible. And for the audience and for everybody that watches this replay, I have not hired Scott yet, but I assume to do so when I get back from Greece, because why would I have pocket doors in the background? Why would I have a beautiful original oil painting behind me that probably looks different? Why would I do all that? I know I'm wrong, Scott, but I wanted to wait for you to give me expertise. So I'm going to do that. So you're the owner of Skillcast. Prior to that, when we first met, was through one of our other content partners. You were the senior strategic learning consultant for all things LinkedIn video. If I got that right, and if I didn't, please use this moment to correct me.
Well, that's a mouthful, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
But yes, what I did at LinkedIn, I had a really cool job, Bill. I got to interview people. And if it was, 2 people, 4 people, 6 people, I was talking to people all over the world. And very quickly, we would capture and disseminate our tribal knowledge. And we would turn that into training and communications. And when I say quickly, we were able to capture stuff like in a day and then share that with the rest of the field. So it was all about speed as we went to market.
Excellent. So with that's where one, you came highly recommended by Renee, and Renee is a wonderful live presenter.
He's
pretty darn good on video. And when he said, Scott's the guy you got to go to, I said, sold. So with that, can you begin to give us so we have CEOs in our online community. Occasionally you'll get a CEO like me who has a face for radio and does not want to be the face of the organization. Occasionally you'll have the person who says, I'll do all the videos, stay out of my way, and they do a great job. And then you have the masses in between who try it, do it, but certainly could produce better quality for the amount of time they invest into their videos. So that's one kind of bucket. The other bucket would be in our online community. The content partners themselves are extremely, they can go in front of 50,000 people on a stage, and you put them in a video and it's a whole different world. So maybe you can, and I'm not naming names that time, Scott.
No, I've been there too. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But Bill, our content partners are wonderful authors, tremendous stage presence, can command the room, and somehow on a video, a couple of them, I'm going to suggest when we're done here today, might want to stop by and get the replay, because maybe you could even help them inside our community. So how do we begin knowing that we have high profile people that have tens of thousands of people watching them, and how critical it is? And it's not about their viewership, it's not about their YouTube channel. It could be a video they're doing for their own company internally, and there's tens of thousands of employees saying that guy could have taken an extra minute and done this, or why does he do that? So I'm gonna let you have the whole time now, sir. Go.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you, Bill. You know, it's so interesting because having worked at LinkedIn, what it is, I saw the relationship and the correlation on how being effective on video plays right into the LinkedIn platform. So what I thought I would do today is sort of share a little bit about, hey, how do we leverage LinkedIn? Just so we have a foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then let's talk about video influence on LinkedIn and how we can really leverage the platform. And then the third thing I want to talk about is what I call webcam charisma. And Bill, I know exactly what you're talking about. I worked at National Seminars Group, and we used to do like 80 to 90 stand-up sessions all across the country every day, right? This was before the Great Recession, back when the seminar business was huge. And I remember working with speakers, and they love standing up on stage. I don't care if it was 10 people in the audience or 1,000. The more people, the better. But I remember bringing them into the studio, and once that red light came on that camera, a lot of them froze. So there's so many tips in here. Let's jump into some of the tips that I want to share with your audience. And let's first start just talking about how might we leverage LinkedIn? What does that mean? And I want you to think about LinkedIn a little bit differently when I'm done here today. Now, the first thing I want you to do, and I know this is going to make some of you really uncomfortable. You might want to Google yourself.
Oh, no.
And, oh, I know it makes me uncomfortable. But my first result was my LinkedIn profile. And there's a reason for this. We can talk about, you know, how old is the domain? How often is it updated? You know, things like that. We've got, we're adding content to it. It's changing. Google loves your profile. And at the end of the day, if anybody wants to learn about you, odds are they're going to go to your profile, your LinkedIn profile, because I bet most of your audience does not have their own personal webpage. They don't have their own site. If they do have their site, it's a company site, and they may have their profile on their company page. That may rank first, depending upon how often it's changed, things like that. But if anybody wants to know about you, odds are they're going to go to your LinkedIn profile. So what this means is that your LinkedIn profile really is a landing page where you control the narrative of what's being said. And when I made that realization, it was like, whoa. I kid you, that changed the game for me. So when I do these presentations for other groups, I talk a lot more about LinkedIn, you know, specifically. That truly is a game changer. Let me show you what I mean a little bit when I talk about this. When I talk about your LinkedIn landing page, your LinkedIn profile is a landing page. Here's my profile. I'm on LinkedIn right now. But what you can see is that I always encourage people, make sure you take advantage of the banner up top, right? This is prime real estate. This tells people exactly what your profile is all about. You want to make sure you have a decent smiling picture, right? That invites people into your profile, I encourage people down here, you can add like a little summary of what you do.
Yep.
I'll blow this up, X LinkedIn, go to market, things like that. But that line follows you all throughout LinkedIn. When you make a post, when you make a comment, that is what people see. So I always encourage people to leverage that one piece of LinkedIn for sure. We can talk about the about section. I always tell people, make sure you write this for others and the people you want to see your profile, and probably your customers, right? I mean, because it's that landing page that you control that narrative to. And then finally, I always encourage people, because a lot of people don't, Bill, they don't take advantage of this featured section where they can put in a link so people can schedule with them, or put in a link to go to their website, things like that. So there are just some things there that really do come into play, that when you optimize your profile, you optimize that landing page, it's huge.
Right. Back to the featured, if I can interrupt you a second.
Sure.
So part of our marketing team suggested that when I do a post that gets a lot of comments and a lot of traffic, put that in as a featured, so that, because it's resonating with our audience, right? It's resonating with CEOs who want to come. I hadn't thought about other things to feature, but that's how I use my featured area. Is that correct?
That is a great way to leverage it. I mean, so you can put in your most valuable, your most important, your highest returning elements, put them into your featured section. And you can make it kind of pretty to where it matches, your profile and all that too. So you can put in an image and then a link to it. And I think you'll see a lot of your consultants and your partners may put in a link to their Calendarly, so people can schedule and things like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But that's what you want to be able to leverage, is that you think about your profile as that landing page. And so, Bill, you had talked about this. You're talking about, you're making different types of posts. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. This isn't about LinkedIn. This is about video. And I'm going to get to that. But there are 5 different types of posts you can create, right? We've got text with image, carousel, which is really nothing more than a PDF. And you might have your marketing teams create something in Canva. Heck, you can create a PDF in PowerPoint, right? And you can have multiple slides. So the advantage to the carousels is that they typically create more engagement, because people go through, they swipe through. So the algorithm loves that, because it spends more time on that post. So it kind of boosts it.
Okay.
You also have polls, and then you've got video. And that's what we're going to be talking about a lot more in a second. That's what I'm coming back to. The last piece when it comes to video, there's this whole strategy, Bill. In fact, I'll be curious to get your thoughts on this. I know you do a lot of posts, but for a lot of people, your commenting strategy, if you don't feel like posting, there are people out there doing nothing but commenting, targeted commenting on other people's posts. That becomes very strategic. So when I say, 3 C's to engagement, it could just be as simple as a like.
Yep.
You like their stuff. And the reason you want to do that is if there's somebody you want to meet, perhaps somebody you want to have a joint partnership with, maybe somebody you're looking to sell into. When you like their post, guess what? They get notified, right? They go, oh, well, Bill liked my post, and then, the next day, oh, Bill commented on my post. Who the heck is this Bill guy?
That is what happens. Unfortunately for me, there are almost always people trying to sell me some form of marketing.
I totally get that. Now, and we could talk all about relationship selling on LinkedIn. That'd be a separate piece. Yeah. But that whole commenting, just like and comment, cheer, comment, and I say connect after that, because once you do that, you've kind of earned the right to connect with that person.
Okay.
So that gets us into, that just kind of lays the foundation for what I refer to as LinkedIn. But let's talk specifically now about LinkedIn video influence. And when I think about LinkedIn video influence, LinkedIn video builds influence because it builds that know, like, and trust factor. And you know what? I could say, you know what? Take out influence, put in sales. LinkedIn video builds sales because it builds that know, like, and trust factor. And this isn't just for individuals per se. This is really about entire sales teams. So it's not just one person that you can build influence for. It can be for the whole team and the company. So that gets us into really, why is video so powerful? And when we stop and think about some of this, according to LinkedIn, you're 5 times more likely to start conversations with video. Hootsuite says you'll get 3 times more engagement off your video than other types of posts. The Social Shepherd says, and I'll tell you, that's not easy to say. The Social Shepherd says that 96% of people watch videos to learn something. And you know what they're looking to learn about? They're looking to learn about you and me. That's what they're looking to learn about. If we take a look at what HubSpot says you'll get 40% more leads by leveraging video. SalesLoft has noticed a 26% increase in email replies. So when your emails have video in it, they're seeing a 26% lift in the number of replies. And HubSpot has found a 2 to 3 times better click-through rate when there's a video in the email. And all of that kind of led me to, and I'm doing all this work for LinkedIn, and I just saw how all of this fit right into the platform. And what it really did is that when you stepped back and you looked at video and you looked at influence, it came back to this book. And I don't know if your audience has read this book, but Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini is just an amazing book. I'm going to say it's got a 4.7 rating out of like 6,500 reviews on Amazon. So a powerful book here. But what Robert did, Dr. Cialdini, what he did is that he took a look at what were the principles of influence. What were people doing? And he was able to measure it because all of this is psychological studies. So he could quantify the impact of what people were doing and how it was making a difference. So let me share with you some of these principles. There's 6 that he came to find out really did make a difference. Number 1 is authority. This just states that we tend to follow people who we perceive to be an authority figure. And what he found out, let's say in real life, we know that we follow people who are doctors. We know co-pilots are deferring to their pilots, even when they think they might be wrong. We see this with nurses and doctors in surgery all the time, right? One of the studies that Cialdini did is that he would have participants shock other participants. And what he found is that if the person's wearing a lab coat and is in a position of perceived authority, even if they were causing the other person pain, 65% of the people still went ahead and obeyed authority. So it is such a powerful influencer. Now, on LinkedIn, what does this mean for you and me? On LinkedIn, what this means for us is we need to position ourselves as thought leaders. We need to create content in those areas. And I'm a big believer we need to create educational videos, that we need to educate and inform and help people learn. That's how we can position ourselves with authority. Now, the second one is social proof, and that we look to others, particularly if they're similar to us. We look at them to help guide us in some of our decisions, right? And you'll see this Amazon reviews, right? I mean, I just quoted one on the book. You know, that many people taking the time to write a review, and it's reviewed that highly, it's got to be a good book, right? But you'll see the same thing with restaurants, right? If there are two restaurants, one line is long and nobody's at the other one, which one are you going to go to? So we see this happen all the time in real life. Now, LinkedIn applications for what we might want to do. How do we create posts to generate like and engagement? How do we get recommendations? How do we comment on other people's posts and have people like our comments and all that? All of that is a form of social proof as we're on the platform, on LinkedIn, doing different things. That's the social proof that we're talking about. Now, the third one, liking. That we tend to be influenced more by people we like or people who are like us. That has more commonality. You see this with salespeople just trying to find common ground, right? You know, you like pickleball, I like pickleball. You know, so they're using it in a manipulative way. But we've also seen entire business models on this, right? A Tupperware party or multi-level in general and selling to your friends, that's the whole basis for this.
Yeah.
So when we stop to think about it, how do we get people to like us? How do we come across and be more personable on video? How do we be engaging, encouraging, and positive and foster that liking across the platform? Now, the fourth one is reciprocity. The fourth, the lever for influence is reciprocity. And that's just that, man, if you do something nice for me, I kind of feel obligated. There's that internal pressure to reciprocate and to return the favor in kind. You see that when you go to Costco on the weekends, right? They're not giving away food for free for no reason, right? They are giving it away because they know it increases sales. And we see it in email marketing that if I give you something, you're more likely to want to give back. And in fact, what Robert Cialdini found in his study is that they would do, they had two groups, and in one group, they would have somebody ask some people to buy raffle tickets. And some people would buy, others wouldn't buy, no big deal. In the second group, the person would go out and provide and get like a free soda and give it to people. They doubled the acceptance rate. They bought twice as many raffle tickets after they provided that little, here you go, here's a Coke, without being asked for it or anything like that. So we know reciprocity drives that internal instinct to want to give back.
Okay.
What does this mean for us on LinkedIn? How do we share our knowledge freely? And how do we like and comment on other people's posts? And odds are they're going to feel that obligation almost to like and comment back. So the more we can provide to the community the more we can elicit that reciprocity that comes out. Now, the fifth one is commitment and consistency. And that's just, being consistent, showing up, and that if you're do something and you say something publicly, you're more likely to follow through. The fitness apps know this, that if they can get you to commit publicly and say you're going to go on a run, odds are you're going to follow through. You just told everybody, you just told thousands of people you're going to go for a run. Now you got to do it. Same thing with Cialdini. He noticed it with yard signs. And if I could get you to commit to a small yard sign, you are 76% more likely to agree to a big, obnoxious yard sign. So that's why we see sales reps trying to get these little yeses. And that's been part of sales training for decades. But for us, it means showing up consistently, not posting and ghosting, if you will. And that's a saying of post and then you don't come back for months. And following through on our commitments. And that gets us into the last one, which is scarcity. And the scarcity principle is that when something is scarce, we place a higher value, a higher perceived value on it. Mm-hmm. We see this with the airlines, right? Only 2 seats left. You better hurry. Concert tickets, although lately those do sell out. So, but you understand with scarcity is that it's driving that perception. And in fact, the example Cialdini used, he had 2 cookie jars, and the 2 cookie jars have cookies in them, and he wants people to taste them and rank them. One jar has about 10 cookies. The other jar only has about 2 cookies. And what he found is that the people would rate the cookies that came from the jar that only had two cookies. They said they tasted better, they were more desirable, and they were just better all around. It was the same damn cookie. There was no difference. So it's just that perception of what was going on, and it just changes everything. So in my case, when I think about this, about for us on LinkedIn, what does this mean for us? Number one, posting on LinkedIn is already pretty scarce, and particularly from some of the leaders and things like that. Video even more so. Bill, I know you do a lot of video posts. But what you'll see is that video makes you scarce. It allows you to stand out. So those are the 6 principles of influence, if you will. The authority, social proof, liking, reciprocity, commitment, consistency, and scarcity. The real power, though, comes from when you stack these and you use these principles together, one with the other, and you just layer them on. And by leveraging all 6, you'll gain more influence and really hit what I call that multiplier. You hit velocity with it. Mm-hmm. But there's one thing I want to caution you about. Do use these with integrity. Don't use this for manipulation. I'll just leave it at that. But one of the things I saw is that when we took a look at all of this and it came into play, there were 4 types of videos on LinkedIn that I started to see that became really powerful. So I want to share those with your audience, Bill. What we're talking about are the 4 types. Number 1 is awareness.
Okay.
Awareness are these kind of like top of the funnel. This is just to get people to see us. If they're going through their feed, that they'll see it. And we hope that they become aware of us. They're typically in the vertical video format.
Yep.
Think of it as the TikTokification of LinkedIn, for better or worse. I'm not gonna go there. And I will say, late last year, LinkedIn made a real push for videos, and you could get tremendous awareness. I mean, I have videos that have millions of impressions, but these videos, it's not about going viral. It's about being visible and valuable. That's what video is all about. Now, the second type, I call authority videos. Authority videos are more middle of the funnel. These are more horizontal, and I think they're typically a little bit longer, say that 2 to 5 minute range. You're really trying to help educate. You're positioning yourself as that thought leader, as that authority, and you're providing insight to your marketplace, into your industry. Authority videos can be very effective. There's one video that comes next. That's my favorite, though. My favorite video are authenticity videos. And what I mean by these, and this is where I find it to be very influential. What I mean by these is these videos are personalized videos that I send in the DMs on LinkedIn. They're always horizontal format. They're just easier to send out that way. They can be as long as necessary, but here's the key. I always use the person's name. Quite often, I'll jump over to their website, just like I was, doing here, right? I bring up their profile or something. I'm using their name. I'm using their company. I'm talking about their specific challenges and pressures, objectives, and challenges. They know this video is just to them. I may only get one view. That's all that matters. It is very powerful when you send that to people on LinkedIn. The last one gets into what I call activation videos. And when I say activation, it's what we're doing right now, Bill. It could be a one-on-one meeting on Zoom. It could be a one-on-one meeting in Teams or Google Meet or whatever. But more often than not, you'll hear people say, Scott, it's like I'm watching one of your videos. It's that commitment and consistency. And yet these videos are typically one way, but when we activate the relationship, it becomes two-way. And so the key is that all this stuff about video isn't just about LinkedIn. The power of video is that we can use it in our Zooms. We can use it every day. And what I like to say is, you know what? If you don't like me on video, odds are you're not going to like me much more in person. So
I'm hoping, since I have a face for radio and I don't like doing video, that I get along better with people in real life, but we'll see. Time will tell.
It's so true. When people begin to like you on video, though, and then they've got that commitment, consistency. Hey, man, you're the same way. When I meet with you one-on-one over Zoom, there's just that connection. There's that know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. So you can see what we've done here now. We've just laid this foundation on all of it. So that's a little bit about LinkedIn. That's a little bit about LinkedIn and video and the power of influence. But let's talk a little bit about webcam charisma. And what do I mean by that? I like to say web video isn't about perfection. It's about connection. And I was working with the gentleman at LinkedIn. We had this huge quarterly initiative. It was for our marketing services. So we've got a whole quarter worth of, regular rollouts of training. We had like 65 different videos in there. We had online content, job aids. I mean, it was a whole big production. Let's just say that. Ruel is from Guyana. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. Guyana. It's in North South America. So I think it's next to Venezuela. Anyway, big guy, big infectious smile. It was so great to interview him, but I was able to help him. And we had our sales conference in Vegas. There are very few places where you can get 8,000 LinkedIn people together, right? All the hotels and conference rooms and things like that. Anyway, I finally got to meet him. He comes running up to me. He goes, Scott, people are treating me like a rock star. They're coming up to me. I have no idea who these people are. They're coming up to me saying, Ruel, Uncle Ruru, because in one of the videos, his nieces called him Uncle Ruru. And Ruel is just telling me, he goes, Scott, this is unbelievable. People are stopping me. They're coming up to me. He became literally the face of this entire, I think it was probably over $100 million, product, launch and sales. And it made me think, why are some presenters, why are some people more effective on camera than others? So I want to break this down into two parts. I want to break this down into tech and techniques. And so let's start this off with tech. And in Hollywood, there's a saying, or it used to be, lights, camera, action. And in so many ways, that's what I want to talk about now is lights. And I'll say, well, let's make this real. That if I don't have my lights on, I don't care how good my camera is. You won't be able to see me. You won't be able to connect with me. But as you slowly start to bring in the proper lighting, you'll see that it makes a huge difference. So what you want to do is you want to have lights in front of you. Quite often what I see, we've got people with, nice corner offices with a beautiful view or whatever, and they put that behind them in the video. You don't want to do that. You don't want a bright light behind you. And you want to face the window. And if you have glasses, try to raise your lights up and minimize the backlight, because often what will happen, let me jump back to this, is that you'll come back into something like this, and let me put on this camera, and you can see what happens. It gets blown out, right? You don't want this type of a look. So when you go to a darker background, and in fact, I could make it real dark, your face pops a lot more. Now, I'm doing it off of a little webcam. Let me get back to my piece, doing it off of a webcam. So you'll just notice a real difference there. So definitely be careful about your backlighting and put the window in front of you. Now, the second piece, again, we're talking about equipment here, aren't we? We're talking about the camera. And so often I see this. Okay, so let's see if I can share this with you. We talk about framing, and there's something that's called the rule of thirds. And when we talk about the rule of thirds, what we're talking about is that we want to be framed properly. We want to kind of be in the center, and we want our eyes to be in the top third of the frame. I bet we've all seen people who are sometimes down here.
Yeah.
And I even have an old boss who used to be down here. And it was just so annoying. But as we convey the authority, as we communicate effectively, we want to be in the top third of the frame. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about being framed properly. Just a little bit of space up here with your eyes always in the top third. Now, the second piece that would come up is we want that camera to be eye level. You want to be looking straight at the camera.
Unlike Bill.
But Bill, if we were out having a drink or a coffee and we were sitting down next to each other across the table, we'd be eye level. We'd be looking at each other eye level. What we don't want is we don't want the hinge profile shot. All right. We don't want the camera way up here. Even though I'm framed, my head is at the top, my eyes are in the top third. The camera is an eye level. Or how many of you have seen this? People are looking down at their laptop and they're talking into their laptop. And we get this double chin, right? I hate getting older. We get this double chin. We get this up the nose shot. What's on the ceiling back there, right? When you place the camera eye level, it makes a world of difference. So now I'm not looking down at you. I'm not talking down to you. I'm not looking up to you. We're equals. Now, there is a secret weapon, and I will share with you. The secret weapon is you want to look into the camera. And I know it's really hard. A lot of us have laptops. We're looking at the screen. We're not looking at the green dot, or we're not looking at the webcam. The secret weapon really is, dare I say, you're going to see I have a teleprompter right there. So I am able to put my screen on that teleprompter. I put my zooms on that teleprompter. I am looking at the person I'm speaking with. I'm looking at my customer. I'm looking at, my business partners eye to eye. That is a very powerful tool to use. I would say that is probably the number one game changer if you really wanted to get down to it. Leverage the camera, leverage a teleprompter if your IT department will let you have one, right? I know sometimes they get kind of crazy about stuff like this, but it's a game changer.
Alexandria just said, uh-oh, he's about to buy a teleprompter.
Alex, I got your back. I'll help you set it up. Don't worry. The third piece when it comes down to the technology, right, is audio. And you will be shocked. Okay, I'm gonna share something with you. I encourage everybody to use an external monitor because if you don't, this is the audio now coming from my MacBook Pro. Okay, we're talking a new computer. I'm kind of far away from it, but you'll notice immediately the difference in the quality compared to, dare I say, a nice mic. And I have my mic just right above my head. So I'm right here. It's right there, just out of frame. There's something called the proximity effect. And the closer you can get to your microphone, a lot of people, you'll see like podcasters with these, right? And they can get really close and it sounds awesome. Okay. I don't like this because I talk with my hands and I hit it. So I'll put that out of the way. I like having a microphone just out of frame, but the audio makes a world of difference. So what we're talking about is what are those technology tools, the tech, be it a camera. I do use a nice camera. I won't get into all the tech, but the teleprompter, the lights, a decent microphone, it elevates your video game. But there are some intangibles going on here. And this is what I mean by when I said techniques. This is what I was referring to. And the first one is energy. How do we bring energy? A lot of these calls are just zapping the energy out of people. And we need to bring the energy. Now, you can do that by movement. right? You can use your hands. You can use more expressions in your face. That conveys a lot of energy. The second one is having fun. Just having fun, smiling. I told you about Ruel, Uncle Ruru. Big, beautiful, infectious smile and laugh on camera. You watch those videos, you were having fun with him. And I assure you, he was nervous. Well, I know he was because I had to work with him. And we got through all that. And then just this unbelievable personality comes out. So think about how you join the Zooms. Think about how you join your meetings. Walking into, or I should say joining, we're not always walking in now. We're joining these meetings. And when people are laughing and they're having fun, changes the whole, complexion of that meeting right off the bat. So that having fun becomes a big factor. Now, the third one, or I should say, yes, the third one are what I call the 4 P's. P number 1, pace. How fast we speak, right? You can convey excitement by speeding up your delivery. And then you can also convey seriousness when we slow it down. Now, pace is often used in combination with pitch. And the higher we talk and the faster we talk, you can convey excitement, you can convey enthusiasm. And then again, there are times when we need to slow things down and we talk slower and we talk lower, don't we? The third P is projection, and that's how loud we talk. And there are times you've probably heard me, I'm talking louder. And there are also other times I lower my voice, I talk a little softer. And I lower that. And that's why having a good microphone makes a difference. And that fourth P is pause. And what pause does, it kind of makes everybody wait. Did his mic cut out? Is he not talking? Did he drop dead? No, it kind of makes people refocus for a second. And so what you want is you want to use strategic pauses. And so before you say something important, your small talk might be fast, higher pace, full of energy. And when it's time to get serious, we pause, we lower our voice, and we slow down a bit. There's that some of us will remember this. Bill, I bet you will. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. It was a powerful commercial, I'm going to say back in the 70s, but what this is all about is about using vocal variety, that our voice is almost an instrument to be played, and it becomes part of our video. So there's a reason why they call it AV, audio video. And most people will say that the audio is the most important part. Because if I can't hear you, I don't care what's going on with the video. If the video fades in and out, as long as I can still hear you, I'm okay. So the quality of your audio becomes very important. And the last intangible I want to share with everybody is clothing. And I know this doesn't sound like much, but wearing busy, tops, floral,
yeah,
plaid shirts, stripes, all that. Even the way it's weaved, you can get a moire effect. Some of my shirts have a moire effect, some of them don't. So you want to avoid stripes and patterns and things like that. There's one other one I want to encourage you to avoid. Let me switch for a second. Okay. I'm on a good camera right there. This is a good webcam, but it's still a webcam. And that's probably what most of us are using. But when we switch to it, I want you to notice something. When I bring up white, you can see, in fact, you're not going to see it as much on this. Let me get to a background like that. And you're going to see that when I pull up a white shirt,
Oh, wow.
it's almost blinding. In fact, sometimes what will happen is that your face will get dark as the camera tries to adjust for it. Oh, go dogs. Your camera will adjust and it messes with the aperture and how the quality comes across. So I encourage people to wear darker royal colors. Dark blue, obviously a blue blazer always looks great on camera. And you could wear a white shirt underneath that because that's not going to blind out the camera as much.
So interrupt you there for a second. This has been tremendous, by the way. So I have a blue, my favorite handmade shirt is blue, but it's got a herringbone bumpy texture. And I wore that on a training video at my company, the old company. And nobody looked at the video. It was for internal use. We didn't edit it. We didn't know what that meant back then. I just did it, right? Well, about a month later, I get all these emails. Could you never wear that shirt again? And I'm like, this is my favorite shirt, and it's got my initials on it, the whole bit, right? Well, I said, why? And they go, well, look at this video. Well, I got a headache. Like in a minute, it did this, right? So we went ahead and reshot that. So anyway, that sometimes I'm not sure what that moral of the story is, but I'm certainly affirming you are correct.
It is so true. And we don't think about it. It could still be a solid shirt, but it's the weave in the pattern and how it messes with the camera lens. And it creates that moire effect. Yes, very distracting. I tell you what, Bill, this has been great because we have covered so much here. And let me just do a quick summary as we start to come to the end and we get to some of our questions. Number one, we talked about just leveraging LinkedIn, right? Just making the most out of LinkedIn and how your LinkedIn profile is a landing page. We talked about video influence. We talked about the principles of influence. A great book, highly recommended, 5 stars. How video plays into all of that. And then we talked about our webcam charisma and some of the tech and techniques that you can use to increase your presence on camera. And I just want to leave everybody with a simple quote here. One of my favorite from Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said. They're going to forget what we did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And video allows us to accomplish this better than any other medium. Bill, I hope that was helpful for your audience.
I don't care about anybody else. It was extremely valuable for my $2,500 an hour.
You had me just come talk to you, didn't you?
Well, no, I think we got some questions. So another question would be, could you hold up that book again so that people that are now at the end and maybe they were taking notes? Perfect. I think that'll and you just thought of something else. Don't cover up your face when you showed the book either.
I was trying not to. I was noticing the shadows, though.
Okay. So that was that. Then the teleprompter. This is a Bill question now, the teleprompter. So I actually
all about Bill.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to play the role of a CEO, right?
Yes.
And CEOs who we're trying to help here to maybe they have a monthly or quarterly vision casting video. I remember back working with one of the CEOs that it was called Trelleborg. I'm not sure it's still out there. I think it's part of Mitsubishi now, but they own Saab. They own the fire truck companies. They own the fire hose companies. They own a little thing called Volvo. Back when it was all construction trucks and cars before it got split up. And he was a very powerful Swedish guy. And this is in the 80s now, I'm going back to the 80s, he would get on a satellite call, which people back then, I mean, it was tens of thousands of dollars an hour, but he would do a satellite call once a quarter, and it didn't matter where he was in the world. It was 8 o'clock his local time. So the day I was with him, I know for a fact, or the night, we were in Trenton, New Jersey. And this is a guy that had a Volvo station wagon. When the first Volvo station wagons, the 80s, came out, he had it flown, not on a ship, had it flown to Trenton, New Jersey, so he could do his satellite call on a video camera, which was poor quality. I mean, our phones are probably better quality today than that was back then, to tens of thousands of people. And Mitsubishi actually was part of it, part of Trelleborg, the holding company back in those days. So huge companies. And he just cast the vision. And it seemed like after I traveled with him for probably 18 months, every quarter it was the same. It'd be a different place, different time, different company, different plant, different something, but he'd be in a black Volvo station wagon, no matter where he was in the world. South Africa one day, Trenton, New Jersey another month, and the same script, but he had to do it live. He felt that it needed to. He didn't want to send an email. He didn't want to, and it was CompuServe back then, so that's dating the whole situation, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, but he needed to do it because he wanted people to see him. Just because of how he delivered the vision for the next quarter or the next year, depending on where we were and what we were doing. But just a tremendous foresight, and extremely expensive. But he was a penny pincher kind of guy, but he knew he wanted to talk to the people in the best format he could. So I'll just say that you've brought that full circle, and your presentation skills are tremendous. I really enjoyed the extra that you put to it. I really enjoyed I hope that Dr. Harrelson, who's one of our content partners, he doesn't even have a LinkedIn profile, okay? But he makes his living on YouTube, or part of his living. I shouldn't say he makes his living. And he's an edutainer. This guy is built for video. God gave him skills. He's built for video, and he's not on LinkedIn. So hopefully somebody in his family just gave him an elbow. So we'll see how that goes on getting a LinkedIn profile. But you two could be so powerful together.
Oh, you know, I love the stories, and I just put my profile in chat. So if anybody wants to connect with me, LinkedIn is the best place to at least reach me initially.
Right. Thanks for doing that. The other place we can find you is skillcasting.com.
Skillcasting.com is right. Definitely my website. I mean, I help companies. Same thing I did for LinkedIn. Same stuff I was doing with Uncle Ruru, I do now with other companies as well. So it's just tons of fun. But, you know, Bill, it's just amazing. I've seen your videos. And I've seen how you're able to leverage and communicate and connect with so many people. And again, we go back to what Maya Angelou said. It's about how we make people feel. And there is no other medium better than video today.
I kind of got to agree. So it's been a pleasure. It's hard to believe that an hour has raced by. Let me see if we have any other questions of anybody that, let's see. We hit the hardware, software. I think we've got it. Some of the, if you don't mind giving us a little extra, I guess, since we're going to go over time. Some of the, I assume your setup is not something that the average billion-dollar CEO would want to invest in, because they might use it. And I'm going back to, maybe it's not their value or their ability to pay. It's more around, I only use it an hour, or that type of thing. So do you have like a FAQ kind of thing of what's good for the person that wants to shoot an hour or two of video a month or something like that?
So here's the thing, Bill. I took a look at. I came from corporate training, right? Big telco companies, LinkedIn / Microsoft, and we all struggle with the video. But I was watching YouTube, and I was saying to myself, how are these people creating video so fast, so much, so seamlessly? And I started to take a look. I learned a lot of what I've learned through the gamers.
Okay.
And I was in, so they were only doing a handful of things. Number one, they have lights. These lights are not fancy. These are basically gamer lights. I think they're about $150, $170 a piece. I got two. The microphone, okay, this is a couple $100 microphone. And you could use smaller ones or plug something into your laptop. Nothing fancy. There are two things that people really notice about my setup. Okay, so there's not a whole lot of fancy stuff here, but there are two pieces. Number one, I do have a nice camera. We sort of showed the difference. You can see the difference in this quality camera versus that one. And that is a mirrorless camera with a decent lens, but you're only talking about $1,500, right? So we're not breaking the bank here, and we're not doing what your Volvo CEO person was doing, okay? And the teleprompter, okay, I call this the secret weapon. When I'm looking at you, Bill, I am looking at you. And that teleprompter, it's under $300.
And the teleprompter is not your camera.
No, the camera sits behind the teleprompter. In fact, let me show you real quick because it'll make more sense. So this is the teleprompter. You'll see that right here. It has a monitor, so it creates another monitor for you. It mirrors and reverses the image. So when it hits the mirror, it comes back right side up, right? It comes back the way it should, and nothing's reversed.
Okay.
So you have a nice, little teleprompter, again, $300. And then I have a camera behind it. And I know it's hard to see because of the lighting. Let me see if I can't get this lighting a little bit better. You'll see I just have my camera behind it.
Yes.
Right behind that lens. That's all it is. And when you do that, I am looking at my monitor. I'm looking through the mirror to my lens that goes to you. Okay. And on my Zoom calls, on my Google Team, on my Microsoft Teams calls, my Google Meet calls, I can put that on that monitor. So I know you said people only use it maybe a couple of hours a month. Mm-hmm. I use it daily.
Right.
Every call is going through here. So everybody I meet with, be it teammates, be it business partners, or be it potential clients and customers, I'm looking right at them.
And the teleprompter still is a teleprompter the way you would use it. I mean, you have copy there, all that still as well, right?
You can put up the software if you want to, and you could read things. I don't encourage it. Most people don't read teleprompters naturally, and they come across kind of stilted. There are some techniques you can learn to get better. You might have to save that for a separate, meeting.
Perfect.
But the key is that this just allows me to connect with my viewer, with whoever I'm meeting with one-on-one. And they know I'm speaking to them and with them, and we're together eye level, and we're just having a natural talk, albeit virtually.
For some reason, the comments aren't coming across like they're supposed to, but Andrew asked, what type of monitor do you use with the teleprompter? Is it a tablet?
No. There are different teleprompter solutions where you can put like your iPad underneath it. This is a dedicated teleprompter, but it's only $300. Okay, off Amazon. The name of the company is Elgato. I'll put it in chat.
Perfect.
This is what, again, it was wild to go from corporate. And I know I had a whole studio at national seminars where we'd bring in our speakers, multiple cameras, green screen, whole studio set up, all that. I know how expensive this stuff is. But when I saw the gamers, Bill, and I saw what people were doing, a $300, consumer grade teleprompter, $300 in lights, and maybe $1,500 in your camera, throw in another couple of hundred for a decent microphone. And it's like, oh my God, now you've got a really nice setup that a business leader can use on a daily basis.
Okay. I think the CEO online community just said, holy cow. So, all right. I don't have anything else. We have in the chat your LinkedIn profile. We know that your website is
skillcasting.com. I'll put that in there.
Yep, skillcasting.com. In your profile, you give out your phone number and your email address, scott@skillcasting.com. So I think they do that. And I assume you're a Chiefs fan and not having a great week.
I am a Chiefs fan. As you saw, I'm also a Georgia fan. So
Yeah.
I was 50% for the weekend. Not bad.
Okay. And I'm a Steelers fan, and it just isn't going to look pretty for a long time, I'm afraid. But it was a pleasure having you, Scott. I really, really enjoyed it. You kept and I guess for everybody watching and listening, you kept our attention. Right when we might have been thinking about something else, you switched the topic just enough that, we better pay attention because here comes another thing we shouldn't miss. So tremendous skill set. Thank you so much for sharing. And I am positive you can unpack a whole lot more for our audience if you'd like to in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Bill. I appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Take care. All right.